Bone marrow, often referred to as nature's butter due to its rich, creamy texture and high fat content, is a beloved food among those following the carnivore diet. This nutrient-dense food, which comes from the center of bones in animals, is touted for its high levels of healthy fats, particularly monounsaturated and saturated fats, as well as vitamins and minerals such as iron, zinc, and vitamin A. Bone marrow can provide significant amounts of calories and healthy fats, making it an appealing option for those seeking to increase their fat intake on the carnivore diet. However, while it is undoubtedly a flavorful and nutrient-rich food, consuming bone marrow regularly can have potential drawbacks and health concerns that should not be overlooked. One of the primary concerns with bone marrow consumption is its high fat content. While fats are an essential part of a balanced diet, bone marrow is particularly rich in saturated fats. A high intake of saturated fats has long been associated with an increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and other cardiovascular conditions. Saturated fats can raise LDL, bad cholesterol levels, leading to the buildup of plaque in the arteries, which increases the risk of atherosclerosis. Over time, the excessive consumption of saturated fats can cause narrowing of the arteries, resulting in reduced blood flow and an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. For those on the carnivore diet who may already be consuming large amounts of fatty meats and other high-fat animal products, the additional intake of saturated fats from bone marrow can significantly elevate the risk of developing cardiovascular diseases. Another issue with bone marrow is its high-calorie density. While the fat content is what makes it such an appealing option for those looking to increase their fat intake, it also means that bone marrow is extremely calorie-dense. This can easily lead to overeating and unintentional weight gain, particularly for individuals who are not mindful of portion sizes. While the carnivore diet is often followed with the intention of losing weight or improving health, the high-calorie content of bone marrow could undermine these goals if not consumed in moderation. For those who struggle with portion control, regularly consuming bone marrow may lead to a calorie surplus, resulting in weight gain and potential metabolic issues like insulin resistance and obesity. Additionally, bone marrow is primarily composed of fat and protein, but it lacks several important nutrients that are typically found in plant-based foods. The carnivore diet, which relies heavily on animal products and excludes fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes, leaves individuals vulnerable to nutrient deficiencies over time. Bone marrow, while rich in certain vitamins and minerals, is lacking in fiber, antioxidants, and several other essential nutrients that are critical for long-term health. Fiber, for example, plays a crucial role in digestive health by promoting regular bowel movements and maintaining a healthy gut microbiome. Without fiber, individuals on a carnivore diet may experience constipation, bloating, and other digestive issues. Furthermore, the absence of plant-based foods can increase the risk of deficiencies in vitamins like vitamin C, magnesium, and potassium, which are essential for immune function, bone health, and overall well-being. The consumption of bone marrow may also place undue stress on the kidneys, especially in individuals who are already consuming large amounts of protein on a carnivore diet. The kidneys are responsible for filtering the waste products generated by protein metabolism, and excessive protein intake can put strain on these organs. While bone marrow itself is not particularly high in protein compared to other animal products, the overall high protein intake associated with a carnivore diet can still contribute to kidney strain over time. For individuals with pre-existing kidney conditions, or those who are genetically predisposed to kidney issues, the combination of high-protein and high-fat animal products could lead to kidney damage and long-term renal complications. Moreover, the rich, fatty nature of bone marrow may not be suitable for everyone, particularly those with certain medical conditions or risk factors. People with high cholesterol, diabetes, or a family history of heart disease may be particularly vulnerable to the negative effects of consuming large amounts of bone marrow, especially if it becomes a frequent or primary part of their diet. The high-fat content could exacerbate these conditions, potentially leading to worsened blood sugar control, elevated cholesterol levels, and an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease. In terms of sustainability, bone marrow, like other animal-based products, carries an environmental cost. The production of meat, especially beef and pork from which bone marrow is typically harvested, requires significant resources in terms of land, water, and feed. Additionally, industrial farming practices often rely on the use of antibiotics and hormones, which can end up in the meat and pose potential health risks to consumers. For those who are concerned about the environmental impact of their food choices, regularly consuming bone marrow may raise ethical and ecological questions, especially if the animals are not sourced sustainably. While bone marrow may be considered a delicacy in some cultures, its environmental footprint should not be ignored, particularly when consumed regularly as part of a meat-heavy diet. Another important consideration is the sourcing and quality of the bone marrow. Not all bone marrow is created equal, and the nutritional value can vary depending on how the animal was raised and how the marrow is processed. Bone marrow from conventionally raised animals may contain higher levels of hormones, antibiotics, and other chemicals used in industrial farming. These substances can be passed on to consumers, potentially affecting overall health. For individuals who are concerned about the quality of their food, it's essential to source bone marrow from animals that were raised in ethical, sustainable, and hormone-free environments. This may come at a higher cost, which could be prohibitive for some individuals. Finally, the lack of variety in a diet focused on bone marrow and other animal-based products can lead to a monotonous eating experience, which may contribute to food fatigue and a lack of long-term adherence to the diet. The carnivore diet's strict elimination of plant-based foods can lead to a limited food palette, making it difficult to enjoy the diverse range of flavors, textures, and nutrients that a more balanced diet can offer. Over time, this could lead to feelings of deprivation and frustration, particularly if the negative health effects of a highly restrictive diet begin to outweigh the initial appeal. In conclusion, while bone marrow may offer certain nutritional benefits, such as healthy fats and micronutrients, its regular consumption comes with several risks. The high-fat and calorie-dense nature of bone marrow can contribute to weight gain, cardiovascular issues, and an imbalance in the diet, particularly when consumed in large quantities or on a daily basis. The lack of essential plant-based nutrients, such as fiber and antioxidants, further increases the risk of nutritional deficiencies and digestive problems. The environmental impact of sourcing bone marrow and the potential for chemical contamination from conventionally raised animals should also be considered. Ultimately, while bone marrow can be enjoyed in moderation as part of a varied, balanced diet, its frequent consumption on the carnivore diet may lead to long-term health consequences. Moderation and variety remain key to maintaining overall health and well-being.